I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I didn't pay any taxes in 2023, and it looks like for 2024, I'm not gonna be paying any either. Now, if you've been following me on this channel for quite some time, it's coming up to close to 5 years creating content on this YouTube channel. Initially, it was essentially me filming videos, talking about my journey when it comes to investing in real estate, and then just detailing all of my properties, kind of what the numbers look like, and really just trying to educate people, because when it came to investing in real estate back in 2016 or 2017, when I made my first investment property, there really wasn't a ton out there outside of maybe biggerpockets.com, which is essentially where I lived for a majority of my life. And obviously just having someone going through the motions on a daily basis, investing, and not being someone that's so many light years ahead of you. No offense to the owner, who I don't think is the owner of Bigger Pockets anymore. I believe he sold it off. But having as many doors as he had, it just really wasn't relevant to me. I know I wanted to get involved and start investing in real estate, but I didn't really have anyone to look up to that had maybe 1 or 2 investment properties. So it was a lot of learning as I went. And my whole goal here was to be able to create content for you guys to be able to either learn from my mistakes, maybe learn from a lot of the things that I did right, as well as what I did wrong, but also be relatable in a sense to understand that, like, hey, I only have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 investment properties. Maybe you're looking to make your first or second investment purchase, and I can relate to you. I can understand your position, and you can look at my portfolio and essentially say, hey, that is an easily attainable goal if I purchase 1 house every single year for the next 3 years, let's say, for example. Well, little did I know that a lot of what I was doing back in 2017 to really 2022, which was acquiring as many investment properties as possible, would lead to even more advantageous opportunities, really, when it comes to just taxes at the end of the day. Now, obviously, I have learned a lot in this profession, both as a realtor and a investor myself, as far as a landlord goes, but I've also learned a ton when it comes to taxes. Fortunately, my income has continued to grow year over year, and there's just been ways that I have tried to approach filing my taxes or doing things really just to avoid paying taxes that really all boils down to owning investment properties. Now, once again, when I made that first purchase in 2017, I utilized my VA loan and purchased a duplex. I didn't know, obviously, as much as I know now. I also fast forward to 2019. I used my VA loan again to purchase a quadplex. Both of those properties, you've probably heard in prior videos, I used a 1031 exchange and upgraded those properties that were anywhere from the $300,000 to $500,000 range, and I upgraded them to properties that are combined worth closer to $3 million rather than just $1 million or maybe $500K between the two. And just as a reminder, when I made both of these transactions, meaning the 1031 exchange into the larger purchase, I had kind of a rough idea of what a cost segregation study was, but there's so much more beyond that. So if you've been following my content, you know I built a cabin in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I upgraded to that from my first purchase back in 2017, which was the duplex. I also upgraded from a 4-plex and leveraged the capital that I had made in that investment into a larger, essentially 4-unit office space. Both of those I still own today. And yes, you can educate yourself a lot. I've actually made videos on what a cost segregation study is, but I didn't go into detail about kind of the second half of what has really been advantageous for me when it comes to the essential tax bill that I have, or really for 2023 and 2024, the tax bill that I've been able to eliminate. And just to be fully transparent, as I always am on this channel, I owed well over 6 figures for 2023 and well over 6 figures for 2024 in terms of just my tax liability, as far as just the taxes that I would owe the IRS. But fortunately enough, I have 2 properties. By utilizing that cabin in Broken Bow called Tipsy Bear, I basically was able to write off everything that I purchased to furnish, as well as utilizing a cost segregation study. I was able to amount about $300,000 to $350,000 in deductions or expenses in that sense. Now, there's a tax code, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, I am not a CPA. This is not financial advice, and this is by no means suggestions for you to do. I would highly suggest that you hire a professional, which is what I did. And I took that $300,000 to $350,000 in losses with that one particular property, and I offset it with about $300,000 to $350,000 in profit for my real estate commissions. So rather than owing, like I mentioned before, over 6 figures in taxes to the IRS, the losses that I was able to take from Tipsy Bear or my cabin, I used to offset my real estate income and was able to keep over 6 figures of income and be able to reinvest that elsewhere. Well, here we are in 2025, and we are quickly approaching April, which is essentially the last time to file your taxes, unless you obviously file an extension. And the plan is to do exactly what I did for my 2023 taxes last year in 2024, for my 24 taxes now here in 2025. But I obviously can't reuse the cabin that I just did the prior year. But I do, as I mentioned earlier, fortunately have another large investment property that's valued at about the same amount as my cabin, and we utilized, once again, a cost segregation study on there, furthering the depreciation to utilize for my 2024 taxes. So yet again, 2 years in a row here, I'm not gonna have to owe a penny to the IRS. And keep in mind, both of these opportunities were not strategic from the start. I didn't purchase a duplex knowing I was gonna sell it down the road and buy an even larger investment, knowing that that larger investment property was then going to be able to be utilized via a cost segregation study, as well as a proper tax code to allow me to then write off my gross commission income as a realtor. I didn't know all that. I started in 2017 and I just kind of dived into the deep end. I learned as I went. I realized that I had very little to no monthly expenses because of the way that I set up myself financially. It's a much different story now. I would say my monthly expenses are close to 20 to 25 grand is what I've recently looked at. So a much different lifestyle that I'm living now. But in 2017, when I made that first investment property, I had the intention of getting out of the rat race, essentially removing myself someday, eventually out of high school education or high school teaching and coaching wrestling. Lo and behold, it only took me about 12 months before I pursued real estate full time. But the investments that I made both in 2017 and 2019 are helping me pay $0 in taxes for 2023 and 2024. So when I talk about on this channel a lot about making a sacrifice, understanding that anything and everything that you want to do does not have to come with that immediate gratification. So much in our society today, we all know it and we can all agree to this, that we all want something and we want it now. We don't want to take the time to make a little bit of a sacrifice, understanding that maybe in 6 months or 6 years, or maybe 15 years down the road, that the decisions I'm making today are going to benefit me tenfold, 100-fold in my future. Again, I was making these choices to invest in real estate because I didn't want to be stuck teaching for the next 40 years, but lo and behold, I wound up only teaching 1 more year. I got into real estate full time and I've made over $1 million for the last 3 years, each one of those years. In 2 of those last 3 years, making over $1 million, I'm also not going to be paying any taxes on that income. But again, that was not my intention back in 2017 and 2019. I was just trying to put money aside, invest it, and be smart when it came to my finances. So the intention of this video is not to just flaunt, to talk about how much money I make and the fact that I'm not paying any money in taxes. I can tell you it was frustrating making about $52,000 a year as a high school teacher, and about $10,000, if not close to $15,000 of that was going to taxes. I can also tell you it's very, very frustrating back in 2022 when I cut the IRS a 6-figure check for my taxes. And unfortunately enough, in 2025, I'm probably going to be doing the same because I don't have another property to do the very thing that I've just discussed with you that I've done in the last 2 years, because I just don't have another commercial property to do it with. But the plan is in 2026, it's likely going to be another commercial property that I can purchase to leverage that opportunity and hopefully not pay a tax bill in 2026. Now, when it comes to cost segregation studies and the expenses that I have, all I'm essentially doing is, instead of taking those expenses over the course of, let's say, 20, 25, 30 years, maybe 40 years, I'm taking all those expenses heavily in 2023 or heavily in 2024. So yes, it's eventually going to catch up to me if I don't buy any more investment properties. But if I'm able to save $100,000 in 2023 in taxes, say I'm able to save another $100,000 plus in 2024, that's $200,000. That's $200K down on $1 million property in 2026 that I can keep this rolling. Maybe not every single year in the future, but maybe every other year, or worst case scenario, every 3rd year, where I'm not gonna have a massive tax burden. So it's not that I'm not paying taxes, I'm just taking a lot of the expenses up front as a business owner, which every single business owner has the right to do. I'm not any more special than anyone else, but real estate is an absolute game changer when it comes to wealth building, and this is just one example how. But that's all I got for you guys this week. I appreciate all of the love and support. If you haven't already, or maybe you've come across this video randomly, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. It truly helps out this channel's growth. I appreciate it as always, and stay tuned for next week's content.